We've got Paul, Sherry, and Tim on Zoom. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Sherry.
Evening.
Hi, Paul. We'll give it maybe one more minute before we officially call the meeting. In case anybody else wants to circle in. Is Catherine coming? I would think so. Well, I know Tim's in Ashford, right, Tim? You're not traveling. Sherry, where are you, in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, are you in an undisclosed location, or can you share that with us?
That would be an accurate statement.
All right, leave it at that. We have 6 members, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're full complement. Great, okay, so I will call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Roll call. Christina Davis, I'm present. Pam Summers. Here. Judy Austin. Here. Keith Lipker.
Here.
Paul Varga.
Here.
Tim Rhodes.
I've got it, I printed it out.
Can you unmute him so we can?
Here.
Yeah, thank you. Hugh McKenzie. Not present, and Holland Love. Not present, okay? Oh, and I forgot to call Angie. Angie is not present, and Angie requested that Tim be seated in her place, so I am seating Tim for this evening. All right, communications. Where to begin? So there were a lot of emails, that went out this week. So everybody should have received a revised Board of Ed budget that is being actively, considered, right now at the Board of Ed meeting. And we'll get word when they, make a decision on that, so we'll know what number to work with. And there's also the general government budget documentation, which the most recent version is here physically and went out this afternoon. There was a small correction. Hopefully everybody saw that. Yeah.
Thank you, Christina, for catching that.
Oh, no problem. And the capital improvement budget went out as well. And again, we have copies here. And then, in terms of the public hearing, we had a deadline yesterday to get the notice to the Chronicle so we could meet the requirements. So that has gone out and will be in the Chronicle next week, that our public hearing is, let me double check the date before I get the wrong thing. The 9th, thank you. April 9th for the public hearing. It's at 7:30, not at 7, and it's in person only. Due to the kind of last minute deadline, I wasn't able to get a Zoom link, so it's gotta be in person. So I'm sorry if that inconveniences anybody, but it was, not my preference, but what we had to live with. So again, public hearing, 7:30 in person. Make it known. The Region 19 budget, we have a revised number that is in the general government budget. And that is slightly down from what it was. Sorry, I'm trying to find it in here. If anybody sees it, tell me what page number. Ah, here it is. So the Region 19, the latest number is 3,799,679. So that's a 3.24% increase over the previous year. So what Janice Chamberlain, who is one of our Ashford reps on that board, as well as the superintendent, said, is this number, and the full budget for Region 19 is going to be considered by the Region 19 board on this coming Tuesday, April 2nd. So we have a meeting scheduled or on the books for that night to officially approve the budgets and recommend them for public hearing. So for that meeting, since the Region 19 board meets at 7:30, how would this board feel about meeting virtually on Tuesday, starting at 8? Is that
That's
Crazy?
What day?
Tuesday,
April.
April 2nd?
Okay.
I just, that way it gives them time to approve it. We won't be wasting our time waiting on them. If we start at 8. Could we do that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can be there for that, so.
Okay.
I have 2 other meetings that night. That would be a third. That might be
Okay.
difficult.
All right. So we'll be down 1, but we have, that's why we have alternates. So is anybody opposed to an 8 o'clock start time? All right, so I'll shoot for that, just so we don't waste our time. We can just log on, verify what the number is and approve and move on.
Excuse me, what was that going to accomplish? You said it would make it so that you wouldn't have to waste your time later on or something? Because you will have already put the information together for the public hearing.
But the Region 19 school board doesn't officially accept that budget until Tuesday night. So,
I understand that, and then and the night of your public hearing is the,
no, not the public hearing. This is just our meeting to approve the budgets to go to public hearing.
but we have to print the budgets for public hearing before then.
I mean,
We have to have them in the town clerk's office on the 3rd.
right, that's the day after.
So how are you going to do that?
I'm gonna hope that the Region 19 school board approves the budget with the number that we have. Which I was told today by the superintendent that she thinks that's
they will?
likely. Yeah. Because this is the number recommended by the finance committee.
All right, so the bottom line is, well, the thing is, you're talking about, let's just say they changed the number. So that means Sherry has to change it in the system. Then you have to reprint these reports.
Right.
And then you have to have them in the town clerk's office that morning, the next morning.
Hey, Catherine?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Christina, can I just ask a question? Because I
Sure.
think I understand where Catherine's going, and correct me if I'm wrong. Haven't in the past, we actually waited at the public hearing to get that number?
Right.
Yeah, so
then you have-
like, then if there was because at the public hearing, we can change we have a special meeting after the public hearing to specifically
you have-
address that. Right. So then nobody has to scramble like a crazy person next week. We put the number in that we have now, and then if it changes at the public hearing, we say, hey, there was a change, here it is. And we can discuss that, and then at the special meeting afterwards, I believe, is when we addressed it. Because I remember waiting at the public hearing for the phone call.
That's
Okay, so-
fine, that's fine. I think that's,
So
if
what
that's-
hap-
we're comfortable with that, that's fine.
What happens is, you get that phone call, hopefully during the public hearing. If not that, then after the public hearing, while you're having your special meeting. And the purpose of the special meeting is to finalize the budget at that point in time and send it with a request for the town, the selectmen to hold a public, the annual town budget meeting.
Right.
That's the normal process for this.
Okay.
I'm just, curious as to
Well,
how,
it's just
how you think you're gonna get the new reports done and have them in the office at night, what is it, when do they open? 8:30 the following morning.
if it's not required and we can go with the number we have, then I'm comfortable with that.
That is what's normally done.
This
because
being, this being your first time, that's what we did last year, was Sharon sent the text to me during the meeting, during the public hearing. And then that's where we got the final number to,
But I guess what I'm confused by is,
we never have it
this
ready.
isn't whatever, okay,
Yeah.
it's fine.
The
We
public
won't
hearing
do-
is still the information you have at that point in time.
All right, so we won't worry about Tuesday's vote with the Region 19 board.
So you're
That's
not,
fine. We're gonna go with the number that we have.
so you're not gonna have a meeting on the 2nd of.
Well, we
April.
are still supposed to, according to our calendar, meet to send the budgets to public hearing on Tuesday, April 2nd.
So it's just gonna be a Zoom meeting?
That'll just be a Zoom, yes, and we can meet
What
at
time?
7:30,
7:30.
because that's what I got the Zoom link for.
Okay.
So not at 8 o'clock?
Not
then?
at 8, we'll do 7:30.
That's always the cart
So-
before the horse.
So you have it set up for April 2nd to make your final decision.
No, we're gonna make a final decision tonight, but we have a meeting on the budget calendar that is to send the budgets to public hearing. That's what the budget calendar says. That we
So
have-
are there two sets of budget books, one that's due on April 3rd and I think one that's due on April
What,
19th?
the way it is the one that's due,
Yeah.
the one that's supposed to be printed and available on April 3rd is the one for the public hearing.
Yeah.
The one that's supposed to be available for the annual town meeting, but annual town budget meeting is, after the public hearing, during that special Board of Finance meeting is when you make your decision based upon public input.
Mhm.
And any information you glean at that point in time. So let's just say, for whatever reason, you don't have the
So
number
we
yet.
could use these.
Then you
reports
produce
done
another
on
one.
The 3rd and then.
Yes,
Our full
absolutely.
budget book with all the bells and whistles for the 19th.
I think that would be fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, normally you would not require, you wouldn't require the April 2nd. You would be making your
It's
decision. You
on
said you
our
were making your
budget, it's
decision.
on our budget calendar, and that's what.
I
we-
get that. I just don't understand how it got there.
Okay. All right, so,
Christina, I just have a question.
Yep.
If we, let's say we approve the budget tonight,
Mhm.
with the numbers we have.
Yep.
Could we not then also approve to move it to public hearing and then just cancel?
tonight,
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
supposed to
and then
be
just
doing it
cancel
tonight.
the meeting on Tuesday, April 2nd?
sure. If you guys are comfortable, if we get there, yes, let's talk about that.
Right, that way, in terms of any changes you make tonight, your final, what your, called your final decision, I thought.
Yes, I'm
We
comfortable
would
with
have
that.
time to get them into the
Yeah.
system and get a printout for you to work with.
That
Okay?
sounds fine to me.
For the April 3rd date.
Let's get there, hopefully.
Okay.
I think that's it for communications. Public comments, does anybody have any public comments? Rob? Okay. Next item is approved minutes of regular meeting for March 21st, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move.
Pam made the motion,
I'll do a second.
Judy seconded.
I don't like to speak again when you've already made a motion, but my name is Miss Bell.
Oh dear.
Oh.
That's not right.
It's not Carolyn.
Oh, no,
Never
it's
was.
not. Sorry about that.
It's my fault.
We'll make that fix. Any other edits to the minutes? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
I,
Any
Aye.
opposed? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great. Next up, we've got new business, selectmen's update. Catherine, do you have?
I don't have anything of a financial nature at this point. I will tell you that we're just documenting the procedures for use of town buildings. There are no written procedures and we need them. And also, the way we're handling the funds that are coming in, the Board of Selectmen will do another review on Monday evening. But we have checks, when anybody uses one of the public buildings, it's a $50 fee and a $50 non-refundable cleaning fee. So the $50 fee will have to be in the form of a check or cash, a check made out to the town of Ashford. And it will go through our social services director, who will then, because she has a process already for taking in, I'm gonna call them contributions that people make. And then she will determine where those contributions go, and she has choices. The choices are basically food cards, grocery store cards. And this is all about food. We made a special account for it. So anything else related to food, and also to write a check, if she so chooses, and we will recommend it to the Ashford Food Bank, which is run by the church. But they serve everybody in town that needs it. We didn't have a formal process before, and people used to just donate to the church, and they would donate. We recommended that they donate to the church. And actually, we don't think of it that way because the church handles that account as a separate thing. So before, people would write out a check to the church, so we never tracked where the money was going and how it came in, that kind of thing. Second thing was people would donate some food stuffs to the church, or to the Ashford Food Bank, that's what the name of it is. And it could be a box of food or whatever they thought was appropriate. Sometimes they sent things that weren't, or they'd give 2 cans of soup, something like that. So what we had decided a while back, that at the beginning, and in December, was that we would make sure that the food bank was getting enough monies to keep it going and help the people in town. So that's one of the options that Melissa McDonough can use or choose. And we also have an account that was set up, I don't know, a number of years ago when Cheryl Laker was still here. It was a savings account. It has $880 in it. It was called the Ashford Food Bank as well. Town account, not associated with the church at all. It was a savings account. No one ever took any money out of it, so it has $880 in it. That $880 was intended for the church food bank. So we'll be writing a check to the church food bank for the $880. What we did was we transferred the money out of that account, closed that account, and made a checking account. It's the town's Ashford Food Bank account. So that's how we'll deal with it, and all the monies will go into there, and Melissa will apportion them out as appropriate.
So
Yes.
is it $100 then, $50 to use, and then 50 for?
The 50 is a refundable cleaning fee. So if they leave the place, if the group
Oh, if they
leaves the
leave it.
place in good order.
Oh,
Yeah, the other thing we'll be doing is, and I will be discussing it more with the selectmen, is that for events that are sponsored, that are from a group in town, and it's not one that is like a private party or whatever, something like that. Let's just say it's the Ashford Arts Council. They have what I would call, well, they're artists and, craftsmen and whatever come in. But that is, and they're from all over. There's only a few from Ashford. So that's a money-making event. And so with that, I've been working with the Arts Council and the Farmers Market for them to maybe increase the amount that people pay to have a table in those events. And that extra revenue will come to the town. And it'll go, again, the same route, it'll go to Melissa's social services department. It's all for the benefit of the people in town who are in need. That's the biggest thing we have. The roof project is just proceeding.
Okay, great, thank you. The next item on the agenda is review bids received as a result of the audit RFP and discussion and possible action regarding a timeline for presentations and firm selection. So we did receive 3 bids from Hoyt, Filippetti, and Malagam. Not sure if I'm saying that right. King and Associates, and then Cinnamon and Associates. So everybody should have gotten an email with those, and then there are print copies here if anybody wants them. I don't really want to dig into the details on the proposals tonight, because we're gonna invite presentations. I would like to figure out a date for when we want to have these folks come. I was looking at, and do 30-minute presentations. That's what we did in the past, the last time we went through this. So I was looking at April 11th or April 25th. My preference is for April 25th because of a couple things. One, we have the public hearing on April 9th. 2, my son has a concert on April 11th. That's the Thursday before the tax deadline, which I feel like these accounting people would not love us if we had them come in that night. So would April 25th to invite these presentations work for the members? That's a Thursday.
Can I ask a question of Sherry?
You can.
Sherry, when do we have to have a new auditor in place? What's the deadline? Is it April 30th or is it May?
It's May, I believe it's May, the end of May.
And
Because
in
we
the-
have to tell the state.
In the RFP, we said that we would have a contract by April 30th. So if we make a decision on after the presentations, April 25th, we should be able to execute an agreement before that deadline, our own self-imposed
I
deadline.
thought it was April.
That's what's in the RFP, but what Sherry's saying is that the actual.
So you'll make your
deadline,
decision the same night as you.
The presentation, that's my
as
intention,
presentations.
yeah. So April 25th at 7 PM, does that sound agreeable? And I figure we'll do hybrid and give people the opportunity to come in person or not. The other question is who we want to present. The last time we did this, which was like 2019, we had a similar scenario where there were 3 bids, one of which was from a firm that we had previously worked with. The board at that time decided we don't need, it was Mahoney and Sable at the time. We don't need to hear from Mahoney and Sable because we've already worked with them, we know. So let's just have the 2 new people come in. What do folks feel about that? I prefer just to save everybody's time to just have Hoyt, Filippetti, and Cinnamon Associates present. Because I feel like we know King and Associates.
Logic.
Does that sound agreeable to everybody?
Yep.
Okay, so I will send out an invitation to those folks, those 2, for April 25th at 7 PM. Yes.
So what you're really doing, normally with an RFP, if you are considering all 3, you would be letting all 3 present. It's an entirely new thing. And if you're deciding you're only gonna have 2%, that means that you're really rejecting the one you're not having present. Just in terms of proper processing from our.
I mean, it's fine with me if we have all 3. I'm just following what they did last time, but we
Is that
can
what
have all
you
3.
did last time? But you decided ahead of time which ones you actually wanted to hear from, right?
I wasn't here last time, but
Yeah, hey, Christina,
Yeah,
I was
Paul?
actually gonna say, there's several new members on the board who haven't really worked with King and King. I've been going to the meetings for years, so I know those guys and girls, but I don't know that it would be fair to them to not allow them to present when there are people who have not. We worked with them, we got to hear him present his audit this year, but they never heard their whole thing, so to speak. So that's just my thought. I don't actually, like on a personal level, I don't need to hear from them. I already know them, but there are people who don't. So, I don't know if it would be fair. I kind of agree with Catherine. I don't think it's really right if we're going to consider them to not let them present. I know it makes it add another 30 minutes, but
It's not the end of the world by any means. Go ahead, Judy.
Give them the option.
Okay, that sounds fine. I will invite all three. And we will,
Because I was thinking that if they didn't get it, they might say, well, wait a minute, we didn't
Oh, yeah.
even give me the opportunity to
They
present.
would challenge. They
Yeah,
could.
so,
fair point.
okay, that's fine with me. April 25th, 7 p.m. And in between, then and now, obviously, I would encourage you to go through their proposals in detail. I'll try to send out, because you can download from the state all the auditing reports. So I'll try to find a couple examples of audit reports that each of the firms have done. Obviously with King and Associates, we don't necessarily need to do that, but with the other two, might be helpful to see what kind of report they put together. So I'll try to send those out beforehand. Yeah, Judy?
What year is this for them? Is this their third year? Do you know?
Who, King
Is that-
and Associates?
Yeah.
No, it's their fifth, I think.
Fifth year.
How many?
5, yeah. So they've been with us for 5 years, I believe.
do we know anybody on other boards where they've had experience with any of these people?
I think we have a treasurer who has experience with one of
And a
them.
business manager.
Oh, and a business manager, okay.
Okay, I mean, because I'd like to get,
Yeah.
be helpful to get feedback.
Yeah.
Positive or otherwise.
There is, I have references included in all the proposals and I intend to call. and
Oh,
ask.
okay, yeah, all right.
Not that I have anything negative to say about them, but I always look at complacency after so many years. Switching it up.
Always good to refresh things and keeps everybody on their toes and honest.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we're done with B. So we can move on to C, discussion and possible actions on proposed budgets. So to get things rolling, I would like to make a motion to approve the general government budget as proposed as of March 28th. Would anybody like to second that motion? Five percent?
100%.
Any seconds? Doesn't sound. Okay, do we want to just ask questions? Or we're not ready to make a motion? So we're just getting caught up on our papers.
Christina, can you remind us again what the percentages?
Yes. It is the total government, the latest proposal, correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry and Catherine, is $4,042,818, which is an increase of 203,578 and a 5.3% increase.
I'm assuming that's what we had the last time, if you look at the budget. That was printed. We got the numbers in the system.
Just being lazy, Catherine. Nothing to explain.
Yes, those are the correct numbers. Sherry, you can you can double check me here just to say. That is my understanding. It doesn't show them isolated out in the budget, because it adds in, the budget
Right.
adds in the other. So, that is correct, because I double checked every number against what I presented before.
Yes, I have the same.
Have it in the colorized version that you got last time. And the summary is in the front of that budget package.
So what questions do folks have?
Christina?
Mhm.
I have a couple of quick questions. First of all, I just want to verify that's exactly the same number as was presented at the last meeting, correct, Catherine?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And Sherry can attest to that as well.
Yep.
Okay, then the savings is still reflected because of the town aid road remove, or I shouldn't say that, the removal
Yes.
of those items for town aid road, and then also in the insurance changes.
Exactly, and we've had the insurance verified. It's been registered with the state. That's correct.
Okay, so do we have actual like paperwork somewhere that says it will be XYZ amount, or we just have a
Yes, we do.
verbal promise?
Yes,
Okay,
we do. We have all the rates. It was presented to the employees. Certainly the town employees.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that was done
So
before.
everybody knows about it. I just don't want to get.
Before we came into the other meeting, the last meeting.
Okay. And then the only other, I guess, comment I had was when I did the math out, by removing the town aid road amount on the capital improvement budget, which was on capital improvements, it's listed originally as 205,000, and then it's offset by 147,317, which
Yeah.
we're going to take. That's half the amount. The other half we're going to put it into that fund, and I understand that, but that means that if I added, and somebody can check my math here, but the reduction in the DPW line items was 143,550.
Correct.
No.
And then, but if you add the 143,550 and the 205 that we moved from capital projects, you end up with 348,550.
Yeah.
And 147,317 times 2 is 294,634. So there's a 55 and almost $56,000 difference there.
Sherry, you want to take that one?
Yes, yes. TAR, you get 2 increments of 147,317. And what happens that capital was putting in 205,000 and only putting in 1/2 of that. So your capital, your roads, you were taking from your CNR funds to pay the difference.
Right.
Okay,
No.
think of it
Right.
this way, Paul. That with having the money in the special fund, the Public Works to DPW is able to access all of the money that's in there. Okay,
Right,
so they don't have the same kind of limit, so it doesn't fit on the capital improvement plan anymore.
Right. I understand that, but what I'm saying is that the way I did when I do the math out.
So I understand the 205. We were giving them more because,
Right.
first of all, we didn't realize that they weren't getting the other, well, we
Okay.
didn't realize they had access, they should have access to the other money. So we just took the 205 out because it was not a real number anymore. So what they have is they now have the entire fund to be able to access. Will they use it all up? No. All right, we're looking for them to continue to bank some of them, keep some of that money banked and just keep adding to it. So I know it looks a little strange, but that was its intent. And when you see the amount that it was reduced in the general government budget, it was the 147,050.
Yep.
Right.
So we could match the half of the TAR that we had been getting. That's all it was. I know it's confusing.
Yeah, if you look at page 8, for the end total for department roads and bridges, the total for fiscal year 25 is now 19,450.
Right.
Previously, in the previous version of this budget, it was 166,500, and the difference between those two numbers is 147.
You know, all we can do is compare the new budget to last year's budget, and that's why you don't see the 147,50 clearly. You see whatever the difference was from last year. And remember, some items in the budget had gone up. Some other items.
There's a lot of variables. Go ahead, Valerie.
Somebody mentioned that the total budget for the government, general government, was 4,042,000 something. Where is that figure? in here. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
find it.
It's
You're
not
not
in
find
this
it in
document.
there because they've added in the school budget, both school budgets in the total. However, you've had it in your the last
Okay,
thing you
could you
got.
give me the figure again then?
Absolutely, yep, 4,042,818.
Okay,
And you can get to
so
that
that
number.
does not include Region 19
Correct.
or the school.
Correct.
It's just general.
Just the general.
Yeah, so you can get to that number with this document, you just have to subtract. a
You'd
couple
have to do the
things.
home.
No,
you have to
no,
do
no,
work.
no, I won't be doing that.
Okay, so we've cleared up the TAR fund. Any other questions about general government? Okay, not hearing any other questions, I'm gonna try this again and make a motion to approve the general government budget as proposed at $4,042,818, which is a $203,578 increase over the previous fiscal year, or a 5.3% increase. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Any discussion? Okay, not hearing any discussion, I'm gonna ask that we vote on this motion. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And abstentions?
Thanks.
Christina, I'm gonna abstain from voting on that budget.
Okay. So we have 2 abstentions, Keith,
who else abstained?
I did.
Judy, and Paul.
Oh, Judy
And-
did, okay.
Keith didn't vote,
Although, no,
but Keith votes no. Okay, so we've got 3 yes, 1 no, 2 abstentions. So that, I don't know what the rules are.
How many people do you have?
We have 6.
6?
I
You
think-
have 3 that voted for, it fails.
It fails.
Now let me ask you a question. Not one of you said what the problem was with the budget. So the people who voted no and the people who abstained didn't say what the problem is. How do you work with that?
That, all
And
right,
you are a
so,
board, you should be coming to hopefully, as has been done in the past, a full consensus based upon discussion and making sure you get all your questions answered and your concerns answered. Because it looks really lousy when you go out to the public and you have to put this budget out, public hearing, and you don't have a full board approving it. I'm startled. No, I'm aghast. So what is the problem with the budget? Where is it? So that we can address it. We got nothing to work on, nothing to work with. Paul, you're allowed to vote on it, so you're choosing not to.
no, I'm not choosing not to. I'm not, because the department that I'm associated with that brought up a bunch of controversy is the bulk of the increase. And I think
We brought it
public-
down.
Catherine, I'm sorry, but we
Yeah, I'm
can't
sorry.
pass the back and forth. So, Paul, you've explained why you abstained.
Yeah, I just don't want, I don't want the public to think that I'm basically voting my budget through. I mean, that's my concern. It's not, it's more of a concern for the town. I don't want people talking about that, that went through because I voted it through.
Paul,
Catherine,
I thought you were done.
Catherine,
Okay.
I wanna hear from other.
You know
people.
what? Let me know what your problems are with the budget so I can address it, because I have nothing to work with.
Right,
And,
I agree.
and as far as Paul is concerned, it's been documented that this is not impugning him in any way, and that he has the right to vote on the budget, but I'm seeing he chooses not to.
I agree. Judy, do you wanna comment on why you decided to abstain?
For some reason, I can't find the updated pretty picture one with the decreases.
Okay, do you want me to put it on the screen?
Yeah, because I don't have anything. I have these two, but I looked in my file and it's in here and it's not in my file, so.
All right, you sent that out, if I remember.
Yeah. All right, hold on, I gotta upload it to the right place here. Keith, can you comment on
Yeah, I
your
just
choice?
thought, you know, I'm looking at an increase of 5.3%, but I'm also I'm thinking in terms, I know that this is just the general government, but also I want to look and see what is going to be the overall mill increase when you combine the Board of Ed and the Region 19 budgets in. I'd
So-
like to.
I can answer that. I have a document for that.
Here we go.
Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, sorry.
The other issue I had, was there was an increase for another person at the DPW that was also this, similar to the increase last year in our budget for an individual at the DPW. So I don't know, like, when I asked about it, we said it was the same person. So
I'm
if we
sorry.
already had it in the budget last year, why are we budgeting it again this year?
What about the same person?
So I asked the question of you and Bill, if the person last year that was in our budget, because there was an outline of all the increases.
Correct.
It said that there was a DPW increase of, I think it was like 43,000, something like that.
Right, because he was moved from the public works budget into DPW, which I explained.
Yeah, so we were already paying for him 43,000 and we're moving him over for an
It was
additional.
just two different department because his role has slightly changed.
So 50 and 43 is like $93,000 between last year and this year that we're rolling.
I don't understand.
It was
You're
already-
asking.
he
He
was
makes
already in the
about
budget.
$44,000 a year.
Yeah, but I'm
Okay,
saying,
roughly,
I'm
because he's
saying
paid
it
hourly.
was already in the budget last year as an increase. And now
He
we're
was,
increasing it this year, another 50. I'm just questioning that. That's
let me look at the public works budget. Did you look at that?
I looked at what you had said the increase was here, and I looked at last year's, what the increases were for.
So he was hired in. The drug, Sherry, do you remember when that person was hired? Because I thought they were hired during fiscal year 24, but while the year was already in progress.
He was hired during this year. What happened?
Yes, it's during this year, so there would be an increase.
Yeah, so what happened is that last year's budget, there was that position that was in the transfer station line. So that person did not get hired before the fiscal year end. So that money's rolled into your general fund
Right, we never paid that.
unassigned. So then now, that was the previous year. So then this year, he was hired, we're paying him, and now what's gonna happen in next year's budget, that money has been moved from the transfer station to DPW, so that it's not doubled. It's just reallocate, that money just got moved
Right.
to another department.
So it's not a new person. It's
The
just
money's still
moved.
there. Yeah, I
It's
get
just
that.
moved.
Yep.
I get it.
It was budgeted for a previous year, wasn't filled. He was filled during this year. But now in this new budget that's being presented, that money is being moved from transfer station to DPW.
Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
So does that answer your question, Judy? About that? Okay. So Keith, your question was about the mill rate,
The overall impact. of the budget,
which
so-
now I gave away
So, which, yeah,
all my copies. But that's what they
Yeah,
are.
this one is-
Oh, right here, okay. So we can walk through this document. Which, let me see if I can share it. So. And Sherry, I sent you a version of this. You didn't get back to me, but did you have a chance to look at it?
I glanced at it tonight here. You look pretty good.
Okay. We'll take it. So the numbers here, you can see the general government is the number that was in the motion earlier. The Ashford school budget is the number that we were given yesterday, I think it was. That's a 0.7% increase, right? And then the Region 19 number is the latest number that's down slightly. So if you do all the math, taking into consideration that we can only tax motor vehicles at the cap, which is 32.46, under these proposed budgets, the mill rate is estimated at 34.36, which is a 1.28 mil increase over last year. So any questions about that? And of course, that's significantly better than what we were looking at initially, when we had a 12.7% increase from the general government and a 3% increase from the school. So those budgets came down substantially on both points. General government came down by more than half. So I think, folks, we gotta be a little bit more forthcoming of what we're looking for if we're not happy with this general government budget. So unless there's been a change of heart in this conversation and we could vote again, if not, I would ask our people that have either voted no or abstained to please come back with a suggestion on what number you would be comfortable with on the general government side. Or we can do the same vote again, if people would like.
And if I can add one thing, it was the selectmen, not Paul, who made a decision about what was in and out of this budget, what we were going to put forth. We did that with plenty of information from Paul. He has done exactly what he should do in terms of conveying the information to the Board of Selectmen, and he has every right to vote on this. And all three selectmen have said, we do not want to touch that department. We don't want to.
If I may say something, that as I recall from the attorney's opinion, that Paul would be able to vote on the
Yes.
general.
On the
overall.
whole thing, the general government budget. What he couldn't do was unfortunately, he could not represent
Exactly,
that budget, a piece of it.
right,
The same thing applied when we had, Jesse
no, I.
Jesse on the board and his wife worked at the school. He was able, the same thing was said by the attorney at that point in time. He couldn't speak to that budget while sitting on the board, but he could definitely vote for it because it was voting for it in its entirety.
And I can understand Paul's concern.
Oh, I do too.
So-
I do too,
So
but
I'm not trying.
these are the selectmen who have made this
Right.
decision.
So let me just give you my take. I am going to support this budget as I have already. And the reason for that is, one, there was a tremendous amount of work done to reduce the asked increase. And it was kind of brilliant and amazing, I think. And really the savings that we're getting from the change in health insurance on both the town and the school side is impressive. And quite frankly, why we didn't do it sooner is a pretty big question in my mind, or why we didn't do it earlier is a pretty big question in my mind, because we've saved our taxpayers big time with this move. So that's one reason I support the budget. The other reason is I believe that it invests in our community and the institutions in our community that matter, including providing adequate staffing in our town hall so that people can get their jobs done and also train the future workforce of our town hall, which is critical. It's also about safety. The fire department does not have enough volunteers. Sadly, sad to say. And Rob was just outside of my house, literally on Wednesday, somebody flipped a car and the people, the first responders from our town were there immediately. If that had happened between the hours of 6 PM and midnight, it might have taken a lot longer for that person to get treated. So I recognize through this process that we do need to invest in our fire department. And I think it's an important piece of this budget and totally defensible. If anybody were to ask me, I would have no problem explaining why it is at the level that it is.
Hmm.
So that's my personal opinion.
Okay, so, well, just for the record, is that, no, I would never touch the public safety portion of the budget. And they are understaffed.
And we were able to bring down everything that we could. To make sure that we were still supporting that.
Hmm.
And, we're not, I know the selectmen are not gonna change their mind on
So I'm gonna try this one more time. I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the general government budget as it was proposed this evening. A total of $4,042,818, an increase of $203,578, and a percent increase of 5.3%. That's my motion. Would someone like to second it?
I'll second it.
Pam seconded the motion. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote one more time. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Yeah,
I
Keith
will-
says an
Christina, I will vote aye. I will vote aye as well.
aye. All right,
yay.
all
it.
right.
Thank you.
Any opposed?
I voted aye.
You voted aye. All right.
Not because of the
Excellent.
bullying, but because it's up to the public to go. About this.
Well, hopefully you don't feel like I was bullying you.
No, no.
Okay, so that was 6 affirmative, yes? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience. I think we needed to just talk it through. I think that's okay. So, great. Next up, we've got the Board of Ed budget. Do we have any updates? We do. Hold on, I lost my agenda. Here we go. What do we got?
The Board of Ed did approve the school budget tonight,
So the 0.7% increase.
0.7%.
Okay. Let me let's see if I can call up that document.
It wasn't easy. We got it done.
Is it? Maybe? No, sorry. All right, hold on, bear with me. Too many documents flying around, as I'm sure everybody feels. Revised. No, sorry.
Sent it to you.
No, yeah,
yesterday
you totally
before
did. I'm
lunch.
just trying to find it in this document. Folder. Hold on. Oh, that's why. There it is. Sorry, everyone. Too many documents. All right, and now can I switch it? Yes. Okay. So. We have here. Everybody should be able to see this. This is the revised summary estimated budget for 24-25 as of March 28th, and this was just approved this evening by the Board of Ed. And if we scroll down, we get to the bottom line number, which is $8,638,694, which is a increase of 60,158 or 0.7%. Just to remind everybody where we were, the previous Board of Ed budget request was a 3.01% increase. And they were able to bring it down to 0.7, largely due to the insurance change and also the reduction in headcount of one special education para, if I got that right. Yes. So.
Due to retirement.
Due to retirement.
Not to letting anyone.
Okay, right, important distinction. So what questions do we have about this budget and this version?
I think they're remarkably responsible.
Yeah.
It was a good job.
I do recall at the presentation, there were comments about that it was the best presentation we've seen as a board in quite some time. And I think the effort that went into reducing the ask is pretty impressive. Keith, you look like you want to say something. No?
No, I think people will really appreciate the effort that they put in, especially in this economy.
And this was the first year that going to the partnership program made sense financially for the school district. So it wasn't, oh, we should have done it before. It didn't make sense. It was too expensive prior to this year.
Mhm.
But when United came in with a 29.5% price increase, that sealed its fate.
Mhm, mhm. So I'm gonna
Christina?
go, oh, go ahead, Paul. Oops.
I just wanted to ask Dina the same question. This is the insurance change has been presented to the staff and the union and all that is,
It has been presented to the unions, yes.
okay.
And
Cause I know that they play a role in it too, so, okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we accept the Board of Education budget as currently proposed with a total of $8,638,694, which is an increase of $60,158 and a 0.7% increase.
I'll second it.
Judy seconded. Any discussion? All right, I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Nope, so that was 6 unanimous. Great.
Congratulations.
We're making progress. In all the excitement on the general government side, I didn't write down the motion in a second, so Valerie, I really hope you got that.
I did get that one.
Because we definitely have to have that documented. Okay, next up is the capital improvement plan, which there is a printout here for those in the room. So again, this plan does not impact the mill rate. So the document we reviewed with the mill rate, the numbers in here do not impact the mill rate at all because they are funded in part by our capital non-recurring fund, in part by state funds, and then also from the Board of Education's non-lapsing fund. And then finally, the bonding, which will pay for the roof. So any questions on the capital improvement plan? Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the capital oh wait, what? Question?
So with the school, with the 1% fund, they're gonna be covering the,
You already moved that money, or you
Yeah.
approved that last week.
yeah, I just want a reminder.
So they're covering, if you look down at the bottom where it says suggested funding.
Yeah.
It says AF non-lapsing for the AC replacements
Okay,
at 30,000, air exchangers
Yeah.
at $73. So it's like 120, I think, if I remember correctly.
yeah, I see it now, thank you.
Any other questions about it? Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the capital improvement plan as presented, with a total of $4,525,722.
I'll second.
Pam seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Judy, did you vote on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was unanimous then.
Sorry, I'll yell louder.
Okay. So we're done with those budgets, guys. Good job. Thank you. Now, do we want to? We've accepted the budgets. I don't know if we need to formally take a vote to send them to public hearing so that we can skip Tuesday's meeting.
Yes, you can.
So, and can I do it all in one lump? Or do I have to do 3 separate motions? What do we think?
Probably have to do, you probably have to do them separate for Sharon.
I couldn't quite hear that.
She said you have to do them separate for sharing. A separate vote.
It's it's a separate motion, and it would be something along the lines of,
To move it to public hearing.
a motion to send the approved budgets, each one with their amounts, to the Board of Selectmen. And request that they, schedule a special town meeting.
Well,
I'm
no,
sorry,
we're not there yet.
schedule.
Not there
I
yet.
think we just.
Oh, no, you're
we
not
just
there
send
yet.
it
You
to
are
public
right.
hearing.
You're right. I'm sorry, you're not there yet.
So that's fine, I can do the motion, so let me just get.
Yeah,
my
because you're
other-
doing this for your public hearing.
Right,
So that doesn't, don't need a motion.
I don't need a motion?
No, you as a board, this is part of your work, okay? So as a board, you have agreed that these budgets are acceptable. You have already scheduled a public hearing, okay? You don't have to ask the selectmen for anything.
Right.
You've already approved the 3 budgets. So they go into your public hearing, that's all.
Okay, so we're done with that piece. We don't need any other motions.
Nope.
Is everybody okay with that? Sherry, does that make sense to you? Yes,
Well,
okay.
the only thing I could think of, and Sherry.
Yeah.
You can help me with this a little bit because, do they have to say, okay, we are formally scheduling the public hearing for such and such date at such and such time?
I
You
would-
probably should.
I would put it to cover yourself.
I think you should do that.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
a motion to go to public hearing
On this date.
on April, whatever it is.
Ninth.
April 9th.
April 9th.
And was it at 7:30 PM? I can't
Correct.
remember.
April 9th.
Okay, so that's the motion.
Okay,
You may have put all of that out in paperwork showing everybody, but this actually formalizes.
okay. All right, so I'm going to make a motion that, we send these budgets as approved this evening to a public hearing to be held on April 9th at Town Hall at 7:30 PM in person only. Is there a second?
Second.
Judy seconded.
And you had where it's going to be as
I
well?
said Town Hall,
Thank you.
7:30 PM. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Oh, sorry, guys. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so great. That was unanimous and we have a public hearing.
And there's no meeting down on April 2nd.
No meeting on April 2nd. Yeah,
Ooh.
okay. Update on the timeline for Region 19, I think we already covered that. Unless there are any questions about that. Okay, we're good. Discussion and possible action regarding transfer of monies from the unassigned fund balance to the capital non-recurring fund for capital improvements for fiscal year 25. So Sherry and I were puzzling over exactly what our, I can take this off the screen, exactly what our CNR fund balance is. And then we think we found it in the audit, right?
Yeah.
Do you happen to have that number in front of you, Sherry?
It was 807,000. It's on
Right.
page 15. It was $807,000. Because that was the amount that was talked about before when, during audit discussions and during your capital, you know, some of the, meetings that you had the capital. So last Thursday, actually, I sent an email out to the auditors to verify. Oops, stop, I can't, phone's going, excuse me. I sent an email off to the auditors to see what, for unassigned, just to verify, and they have not replied back to me at all. And, so per the audit, the, balance is committed. So I'm not quite sure where, if they're thinking that all of that money is committed to projects because there was housekeeping to release some of those projects and put that money back into, you know, an unassigned.
Right, so I guess my question is,
I have a question.
oh, go ahead, yeah.
So in the audit, it says, general fund, the general fund sheet, operating fund of town of Ashford, at the end of the current fiscal year, unassigned fund balance of the general fund was $2,552,699. As a measure of general fund's liquidity, it may be useful to compare unassigned fund balance to a total of fund expenditures. Unassigned fund balance represents 16.3 of the total general budget.
Right, so that's
That was last
unassigned
year.
fund balance. What
That's-
Sherry was just talking about is the capital non-recurring fund.
Non-recurring.
Right,
Okay.
so two different
From funds.
totals.
So
Yeah.
that one was increased by 248,371 during the fiscal
Right.
year.
Yeah, and if you go to page,
13 to 14.
yeah, so I'm calling up on my computer here, page 13 of the audit, it says there's a column for capital non-recurring fund that says total fund balance, 871,397. And of that total, 100% is committed.
Oh.
So my question is, do we, because we have money in this capital improvement plan coming out of CNR for a total of $343,018. So do we have to move that total from the unassigned fund balance to CNR in order to cover those projects?
Yes.
Because we don't have some extra amount of money sitting there, because it's all committed to existing projects.
So Christina,
Yes,
two things. You had asked me to explain my previous thing about $500,000.
Yeah.
And I tried to come up, I don't want to say I couldn't explain it, but the bottom line is this. Our financial management policy clearly states that we're supposed to take any excess funds between 10 and 15% is how we use it. In the previous years, we tried to stay between 11 and 12% in the unassigned fund balance. Take the balance of that money and move it to capital non-recurring. That way we cover the current projects and also grow that fund so that if we have a year where we don't have additional unassigned funds, we still have money for capital projects, because otherwise we would have to tax for those projects. And that's why we have a CNR fund. So that's my brief explanation. The number I was using when I did it last week was to try to make sure we left an additional pad in unassigned fund balance because of the fire department roof project that's up, still being discussed. And that is still being discussed, and consequently, that's why I was trying to leave a like a 1% pad, if you will, which would be roughly $200,000 if I, with my quick math. But the other thing I want to say is I don't think what the auditors mean when they say that those funds are committed is that they're actually assigned to a project. CNR funds are considered committed funds by the state, which is why we move money into that fund so that we can protect the money. Because if something happened and somebody came after the town, they can only go after certain amounts of money, and that's the unassigned fund balance. And Catherine, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Can I ask a question before you comment, Kevin? My question, and I don't want to hang this up, I'm totally fine moving this forward. But I am personally going to pursue this question because my question is, of that 871,000 that says it's committed, what percentage of that is truly not committed?
No,
You know,
that's and that was actually my third part of my comment was we don't really know. And I think before we do anything else, and taking back what I like last week, somebody asked me why I wanted to move it, and I want to move it down the road, but I think we do need to know as a board, or at least I need to know exactly what funds are committed, what funds are not, what do we actually have available. I still think we need to put money into it. I'm not saying we don't, but also with that roof project on the back burner. And I just think maybe we need a little more information and some more research, and maybe a call to the King and find out if they can even explain it a little bit better to us.
go ahead, Kevin.
First of all, I agree with both of you, and I'm glad you were able to articulate that. The way that you figure out how much you really have, unfortunately requires Sherry to do some work, Sherry.
I saw she was getting her paperwork out already.
We love you, Sherry.
Laptop.
All you have to do, and I'm gonna make it sound simple, I don't know if it's as simple as this, is you already know the projects that you have in flight. Those that are already going on, and you know how much, we have records that tell us how much has been spent on what was apportioned for that project. Okay, and if they're not finished, we know how much is remaining that has to be retained for that project. So that's how you just look at what you had for your balance last year. And I believe the auditor takes this really broad view, and that whole thing about protecting the money, they look at it and they go, okay, CNR, whatever's in there, fully committed. Can't get at it, you know, nobody else can get at it, which protects it. But what they don't do is they don't slice it up and go, these are the projects you have, this is how much has been spent on what was apportioned for them, and this is how much is remaining. I wish that were part of the audit, because that would be so helpful to you. All right, but you can get to the number of what is really available by looking at your projects, going, what's in flight, what's been finished, and we haven't, and it came in under budget, so to speak. So what can be freed up, which you would do, I think we've talked about that before. That's how you get to what you really have available to you. But unfortunately, the auditor doesn't do that work for us. We have to do it ourselves. So, and Sherry, I see Sherry is turned away from us. Okay, I can't tell if she's crying.
Maybe she's gonna magically give us a number.
Or swearing, one or the other.
Go ahead, Judy.
We have time to do this. Can we just put it on hold?
Well, that's my question
Until we have
is,
the-
We can get to the number. I know we can. I have a sneaky suspicion that that's what Sherry is trying to do right now.
my only concern though is, do we need to put this money in this 343,018, because we just approved this plan? Can we approve the plan without having committed those funds?
I personally, I would be a person who would recommend, put the money in. Okay, put the money in, make sure you've got that in there. It's not hurting anything, it's not really damaging what you've got for your percentage,
Mhm.
your percentage. And as Paul pointed out, you have the fire station roof that we have to repair. And we want to get it started before, the budget, before July 1st. And you have to make sure you've got enough in the undesignated fund to do that. Because it wasn't planned to go into CNR and be voted on that way. It'd be in a town meeting. Taking money out of the undesignated fund is a separate issue.
Right.
So,
So it sounds like we should vote tonight to move.
Sherry's got something.
Oh, wait,
Thank you.
what do you
Not
got?
off the press.
I just went looking in my other town and seeing on my audit report for my capital, they classify it the same exact way as King and King does that. It's committed, it's assigned to,
Just to protect it.
just being protected in the account.
Right.
So,
So what I would propose is that we do vote tonight on moving this 343.18 from the unassigned fund balance.
Or 350,000. You could do that. You could do a round
Or
number.
we could do the exact
Make your
number.
life easier.
Okay, well, wait, just make sure I get the number.
Yes, you will get the number, Valerie.
Okay.
But what I'm proposing is that's what we do tonight. But I am committed, and I think Sherry is committed, to
Give me one more
She
minute.
got her figure up.
making sure we understand exactly how much we have to play with in that CNR fund. And if it's not a whole lot and we feel like we want to beef that up, we can revisit moving additional funds at a later date.
You can move them any
Yeah.
time. Move them 10 times if you want to.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we move $348,018 from the unassigned fund balance to the capital non-recurring fund. Is there a second?
Second,
Keith seconded. Any discussion?
I still wanna know what is the big hurry, like within a week or 2 weeks to get the
Well,
final, because when you start piecemealing things, you lose track of things.
that's understandable. My concern is that this number is in this budget and it's in the public hearing document that's gonna go out to the public. And I don't feel comfortable sending that out to the public without having committed the funds. That's my thinking.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a valid concern. If somebody asks a question, it's gonna be tough to answer. How are you gonna do it if you haven't moved the money, don't have the funds there?
We're staying at CNR, but we don't really know if we got the money there.
Right,
How we do by voting. And then we can, once we get this full picture of what's there, then we could even say, you know what? Oh my gosh, we have way more money in there than we thought. Let's move money
Well,
back to the inside.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Honestly, going back to the roof project, that also gives us, at that point, we can also say we were conservative in moving it because we knew this project was coming up. Here's what we have. It actually, in the bigger picture, if you look back as just a standard, I don't want to say standard taxpayer, but somebody who's not at one of these meetings all the time, I think it's actually makes a little more sense it would make more sense to them. If I had to explain it to somebody, that's how I would explain it. I would have rounded the number up, but it's okay. Doesn't matter to me either way. So.
Well, and I am committed to.
Because I'm
figuring
with
this
Judy,
out.
when you start adding a lot of numbers at the end, it gets really tough. So, but I just think it makes more sense. So.
Okay, I am committed to figuring this out because it's been driving me insane that I couldn't quite put my finger on like exactly what we have, so I'm not gonna lose track of it. I'm going to bring it back for sure. So I think we have a motion and a second. And we've had discussion. Any other comments? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Oh. Tim, did you vote? Any opposed? Go ahead. Tim.
No, I did vote aye.
You voted aye. Okay, any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, that was unanimous.
If I could ask a question of Sherry.
Yeah.
Sherry, in our system. Okay,
Yep.
And you'll all see it in the report that was produced, this, from the system. If you go to page 23. I never liked how these are represented because they show, well, it shows projects that are in flight or have now finished. Correct, Sherry? In the report from the system, you know, with the expense and revenues and everything. If you go to page 23, under 227-6100, the 61,000 series, it shows the capital, we're actually going even further up. It shows more of them. It shows brownfields, you know, we no longer have money that we're dealing with there. That one, we thought we were going to fund with a grant, correct?
Correct.
And so this is page 22 now, going, you know, further back. We got maintenance of town property, capital town building repairs. There's nothing else like, if you look at the fiscal year 23 budget, fiscal year 24 budget, you see projects or purchases that are, you know, parceled out. And you can see that there's some that are still going on, and you can see that there are some that have ended. Okay, at least from what I could tell. So these are all the live projects that are going on. Is that correct, Sherry?
That is correct. And there was, I
So
thought,
here's your list to go start with.
I thought that I had sent out to an Excel spreadsheet. It was probably a couple meetings back now saying what projects were,
Yes,
what we had to clean up or close out the house.
Good.
right.
So I don't think I got that. That would have, yeah, that, can you?
Yes, I believe you did.
We've talked about it and it just
I know
hasn't.
we talked about it, but I don't think I saw the spreadsheet.
Oh,
But
I
anyway,
know.
I
Okay,
think we're gonna get to the bottom of it, and that'll be something to discuss at a future
So
meeting.
the only other, what I did want to say something else about this. This is something we can make sure that you have. Next year, when you go to do your budget decisions, that is already prepared for you. So that you have the information available readily. And I will make sure that it happens. Sherry and I will.
That's right, full-time sharing.
Full-time share.
Well.
Starting on April Fool's Day.
So,
Okay, next item on the agenda is just review the budget calendar. Just to remind everybody, because I'm terrible at dates myself. So, April 2nd, we're not meeting. Okay, no meeting on April 2nd. April 9th is our public hearing, and it will be at 7:30 PM in person only, no Zoom. And then we will meet immediately after the public hearing as a Board of Finance, so I have to do an agenda for that as well. And then we can make adjustments based on feedback from the public if we see fit. And then we would, at that point, vote to send the budgets to the Board of Selectmen
that's correct.
so that they can take the town meeting and referendum steps. And yes, this does not have the budget books, Dina, the mini budget books of next week. But given that there weren't any changes this evening, that shouldn't be an onerous task.
No.
And I can help facilitate moving things if needed. And then we have the annual town meeting on April 23rd. And then our referendum on May 7th. So that's, any questions on the calendar? Let me just, yeah, okay, that's fine. All right, that's E, that's F, we did that, agenda items for the next meeting. And so our next regular meeting, we're not meeting on the 2nd, and then we have the public hearing on the 9th. I don't think that we'll need a meeting on April 11th. And then I'm away the following week, so probably.
Actually, Christina, I know the 11th, and I'm not sure what's going on with the Board of Selectmen and that roof project and also the CNR thing, maybe we can get some answers to that by then, because we want to move that roof project before we do. I think if I'm not wrong, correct me, Catherine, if I am, we'd like to get that moved ahead sooner than the budget stuff, so we can actually get that project moving. So maybe don't be too quick to cancel the April 11th meeting, is what I'm saying.
If I could add to that, if we have the estimates, we know what we think that roof's gonna cost, we got a good handle on it, as soon as you have that, regardless of what meeting it is, you just make your motion to,
Just make okay.
To have the meeting and say that for that amount, or not to exceed,
Okay.
something like that, and send it to the Board of Selectmen. So, I mean, you could have, you know, if we had all the information tonight, you could have added that to the agenda and done it right
I
there.
wish we did.
Yeah.
So we, even though that project, the fire department roof, we're talking about approving that through town meeting.
Yep.
Correct.
We as a Board of Finance have to approve that? I thought that would come through the Board of
Let
Selectmen.
me think about that for just a second. I think the right way to do it is the Board of Selectmen would make that recommendation to you. Because when all is said and, you know what, I'll
Yeah.
double check, because there's a little bit of a protocol to this. I wanna make sure that we've all followed it, but I can tell you this, once the decision, you know, if you're making the decision that you want to pursue this or whatever, the Board of Selectmen will hold a special meeting, okay, immediately upon getting that information.
Cause I think in the past with town meeting stuff, it hasn't come before us at all. Like
That's what
this
I'm,
recent one,
that's what I'm thinking, so I have a Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday. I'll double check beforehand, but I will talk to them on Monday, because we can add it to our agenda. We just need a really solid
Yeah. We need the
estimate.
we need good estimates.
Yeah, so and it needs to take into account everything. We want to make sure that we set aside the right amount of money. And I think you're right. I think you're right, Christina. I don't think the Board of Finance needs to be the ones making any decisions on that. You have your domain with this stuff.
Okay.
With us, we've done it for ARPA. We didn't have to come to you to do it for ARPA.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right, so just to go back, so we got the public hearing on April 9th. We may need a meeting on April 11th, potentially to discuss CNR and maybe the roof, but maybe not. But we definitely have a meeting on April 25th to, have the presentations from the auditors.
What you could do is after your public hearing, when you have that special meeting,
Yeah.
You might want to-
agenda.
just add it to that meeting. You won't have to have another meeting just to move more monies to CNR.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me make it.
So we don't need to hold the April 11th date.
Maybe not. Can't promise it, but.
I can tell you that certainly while I was chair of the Board of Finance, we would always find that April 11th meeting wasn't needed.
Oh,
So it was almost like a respite after all of the work.
hopefully. Well, the thing is, I'm away the following week, so that may cause things like, oh, we gotta do it on the 11th or whatever. Depending on what comes up. Okay, so I think that's it for agenda items for the next meeting. Remarks for the good of the board. Thank you, everybody. I'm really glad that we came to consensus this evening. It was a little scary. But we got there. And I think that's totally appropriate. I think everyone coming with a skeptical eye and is doing our due diligence for the citizens of this town. So I think that's totally legitimate. And I think we have done a really good job kind of taking a close look at these budgets. I know I'm way too familiar with them. I wish I weren't as intimate with the numbers as I am. Although I'm not as good as Dina, who you can just say a number and she can tell you the line item that you're referring to. It's a really good party trick. So again, thank you everyone for your time and your effort and your dedication. We're getting there. Definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Thank you, everyone. So that's it for remarks for the good of the board, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Judy makes the motion. Who's gonna second? Keith. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good night.